Welcome to Ripped from Reddit. I'm your host Daniel. r/askreddit. People who have gone out for a pack of cigarettes and never went back to your family. What happened after you left? Serious. This is my throwaway. Got married right out of high school. Everything was going well, but we were young and both were our first partners. Came home early one day and walked in on my wife with another man. Standard insanity ensued, followed by her begging for forgiveness, and we went to months of counseling. Everything seemed well and dandy. She seemed like a totally different woman and couldn't live without me. One day I log into our desktop PC and her Facebook is loaded and there are multiple messages, and I had to look. I found exactly what I knew I would find. It crushed me, but I acted like nothing happened. That weekend I packed up my favorite clothes and belongings that meant a lot to me and snuck them to the car. Sunday evening I said, hey, I'm going to take the dogs to the dog park and hike for a few hours. When I left, I texted on neighbor to see if anyone showed up at the house. She replied pretty quickly that a male visitor was by very quickly. I told her goodbye and the dogs and I just drove. I had a decent savings and thought, fuck it, start off somewhere new, and that is what I did. My ex-wife didn't even try and contact me until around lunchtime the next day. When I didn't respond, she blew me up with photos and videos of her with multiple men and about how bad of a lover I was. It fucked me up, but I just kept trucking. I ended up in a smaller town where I saw someone was hiring for my trade. Years later, I remarried to the best human ever. I went home not long ago and my mom posted a picture of us at a gathering. My ex hit up my Facebook and asked if we could meet for a cup of coffee. She would like some closure. I obviously would like as well. I have to say, for all the resentment and hatred I had toward this woman, our conversation was pleasant and I felt better after we talked. She understood why I left. She apologized deeply, many times, and didn't try to blame me for anything. After an hour and a little bit of tears, awkward as hell in public, hahaha, she asked if it was okay to get a hug. We hugged and said our goodbyes. Once I got home I told my wife about the visit and she got awkward for a few minutes. She left the room and I didn't follow. I thought, oh, I'm sleeping on the couch tonight. 5 minutes later, she came back crying and just gave me the biggest hug ever. She told me she forgot what I went through and she was sorry and glad her life is good. Closing. I left a terrible human for the best human ever. Edit. This blew up. I would like to thank everyone for their kind words. 1. I love those dogs more than most of my family. Sadly, they have passed, old age, and I can't wait to see them again, but thank you for the kind words. 2. Yes, we got divorced. It was a pretty quick and painless process. My best friend growing up ended up being a divorce lawyer. When I took off I called him and provided him with the photo/video evidence. Was a pretty simple process after that. When I was 18, I moved out from my abusive father. I was commuting to college at the time, and I had morning classes, so the night before I packed my car with as much of my stuff as I could and set off. One of my professors that I regularly talked to after class noticed that my car was full of clothes and asked if everything was okay. Over lunch I explained my situation, and he offered to take me in. I had already made arrangements to live with my mother. After my classes for the day were over I went home for the first time since I was a child to live with my mother. I slept on the couch for months before getting my own bed, and we didn't always have the money to eat, but we made it work. I have seen my father one time since then because he swore to me that he had changed. That night he proceeded to get wasted and tried to put his hands on me. I haven't seen him since, and I have no regrets. Pretty impressive character your professor seems to have. I hope you've kept a relationship with him/her. Glad to see you are away from your dad. Did you report him? And how are you doing now? I did not. I'm not a vindictive person and I'd rather just be free than see him suffer. I'm doing pretty well, though. Just wrapped up my second year of college and have a job for the summer. My mental/emotional state has gotten much better since moving out. Therapy has been massively beneficial to me getting myself to the person I wanted to be. I didn't go out for cigarettes, but I pulled a similar stunt. My mom is abusive, and I had no spine. So I told her I was going to move in with my dad for the summer. I said I would be back before the end of August. After I moved in with my dad I got my state ID. My mom didn't want me to have any kind of it, and I finally got my driver's permit a few weeks later. I felt bad for lying at the time, but now hell no. If I didn't lie to her I would have never gotten out of there. I would be stuck living on a shitty little hobby farm with a woman who did everything in her power to tear me down and hurt me. I'm proud of you. I did something similar, but I just moved across the country and didn't tell anyone where I'm going or my new address. It still hurts, but I don't regret my decision. I hope you don't either. Ultimately, it helps when I hear someone is proud of me and what I did. So, I thought I'd pass it on to you as well. I'm proud of you for making such a big step towards your own happiness. My ex-husband was extremely physically and emotionally abusive, as well as an alcoholic/addict. He obsessively controlled the money and every second of my daily routine. An unplanned 5-minute delay to get gas on the way home would result in a dressing down if I was lucky, a beating if I wasn't. We had 3 daughters, and on the few occasions I threatened to leave, he'd tell me to go ahead and leave, but I couldn't take our daughters with me. At one of our couple friends' wedding reception, he got drunk as per usual and lost his mind over something insignificant, dragged me around in the street by my hair, and pulled a gun on me in front of the wedding party. One of his friends, who was a real pose, took me aside while the groom's mom was driving my ex home and told me you don't have to live like this. It was like a light went on in my mind. This guy says I don't have to live like this. It took me a couple of weeks to put a plan in place, but one morning after my ex left for work my dad helped me pack everything that would fit in a U-Haul, and I'd like to say I never saw him again after that day, but I was pretty lucky he decided to leave me alone after an initial period of stalking and about in jail for violating an order of protection. Fast forward 15 years, and I finished undergrad, law school, and postdoc. I'm remarried with 2 more amazing kids, and life is pretty much goals. Edit, I forgot to mention the kids. I did take them with me. That was why I left the way I did, since I knew he wouldn't let me leave with them otherwise. Unfortunately, it's not been all sunshine and rainbows since, although we had some pretty wonderful times over the years. My ex passed on to the girls a genetic predisposition to serious mental illness, and I lost one daughter to suicide when she was 14. We all were, and are, pretty traumatized, but we cope the best we can and try to appreciate all the other wonderful things life has brought us. Edit 2. Thanks for the gold and for the positive comments. All this isn't something I talk about much in my D2nd. It's been years, but a lot of it is still fresh, and it's occasionally cathartic to open up to strangers. Were you able to take your daughters? Yes, hence why I left as I did. I dropped the younger two at daycare and the oldest at school, but picked them up early. My ex worked construction so was gone 5:30 or 3:30p. We stayed at my dad's for about a month until I got a couple of paychecks and was able to get into my own apartment. That's amazing. Congratulations.